Trudeau's holding a big cabinet retreat on the Liberal housing crisis. Interesting, isn't it? This is 2 weeks after he said housing is not his job. You can understand why he would want you to believe it's not his job, because he's done such a terrible job. Let's just look at the facts. That I'm going to help Justin today and give him some facts about the state of housing after 8 years as Prime Minister, 8 years after he promised housing would be made more affordable. These are the facts. It now takes 66% of the average pre-tax family income to make the average mortgage payment. It was about 39% when Trudeau took office. It now takes 25 years for the average Toronto family to save up for a down payment. Before Trudeau, you could pay off an entire mortgage in 25 years. After 8 years of Trudeau, newlyweds are forced to pay $1,000 for a single room in a townhouse that they share with 2 other couples. Shared bathroom, shared kitchen, $1,000 for that privilege. How romantic for those newlyweds after 8 years of Trudeau. After 8 years of Trudeau, the average mortgage payment has gone from $1,400 to $3,300, a more than 100% increase. After 8 years of Trudeau, the average rent has gone from $950 to over $2,000, excuse me. Once again, 100% increase. After 8 years of Trudeau, housing costs in Canada are 45 to 75% more expensive than in the United States. And if you go to border towns like Niagara, you will see that the housing cost on the Canadian side of the border is nearly double that of the housing cost 15 minutes away in the United States. Why is the Trudeau housing market twice as expensive as the American market? And it's not just the American comparison. Vancouver is now the 3rd most unaffordable, and Toronto the 10th most unaffordable housing market in the world. Worse than New York City, worse than London, England, worse than Singapore, an island with 2,000 times more people per square kilometer than Canada. We're worse than Singapore when it comes to housing. According to UBS, Toronto is now the most risky housing bubble in the world. 8 years ago, Toronto didn't even rank as a bubble. Now, it's the worst bubble on planet Earth after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. Today, a 2-bedroom house in Canada costs more than a castle in Sweden after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. And how is the problem progressing? Well, we obviously have a big housing shortage. We have the fewest houses per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have by far the most land to build on. So how are we doing to fix that problem? Housing construction is down 32% this year, according to the National Housing Agency. In fact, last year, we built fewer homes than we built in 1972, when Canada's population was 22 million. In other words, and last year the population was 39 million. So we've doubled the population, and we're building fewer houses annually. Furthermore, we see that the cost of government amounts to $350,000 per newly built house in Toronto and $1.3 million in Vancouver. The biggest cost for housing today is not labor, not lumber, not land, and not profit. It is government. That is the record after 8 years of Trudeau. Anybody wonder why he doesn't want housing to be his job anymore? Remember 8 years ago when he promised he'd make housing more affordable? He kept making those promises for years and years and years, and then whoops! 2 weeks ago, he popped up in front of all of you in the press and said, "Not my job. Sorry, let me put you on hold while I transfer your call to another government department." That's 8 years of Trudeau. My message, Mr. Trudeau, is this. You have a big housing retreat with your Liberal cabinet in Prince Edward Island. You can start reversing the problem you caused by walking out today and saying, yes, housing is your responsibility, Mr. Trudeau. You are the one who is to blame for doubling the cost. And you could adopt my policies, which have been clearly stated, that we should speed up housing construction. I will require every federally funded transit station be pre-permitted for high sky-rise apartments so our seniors and youth can live right next to the bus or train. I require municipalities speed up and lower the cost of building permits. They will have to boost permits by 15% per year or lose housing or lose infrastructure money. But those that beat that 15% target will get a building bonus. We'll free up thousands of acres of federal land and sell 6,000 federal buildings to turn that into housing as well. We'll make sure that new immigrants, we have a higher number of carpenters, plumbers, and other skilled immigrants to help build houses. We'll put more support for the trades. We need more boots, not just more suits. These are common sense solutions about which have been talking for years. We can restore the dream of home ownership that everyone took for granted 8 years ago. The good news is life wasn't like this before Trudeau. It won't be like this after he's gone. We'll turn the hurt he's caused into the hope Canadians need. Let's bring it home.
Faites-vous entre la crise du logement et l'écart qui se creuse dans les sondages entre vous et les libéraux?
Mais les Canadiens commencent à reconnaître que Justin Trudeau a doublé le coût de logement. Il a doublé le loyer, doublé les paiements hypothécaires. Il a doublé le premier versement nécessaire pour acheter une nouvelle maison. Il l'a fait en finançant la bureaucratie qui empêche la construction et avec les déficits qui augmentent les taux d'intérêt. Les Canadiens savent qu'un gouvernement Poilievre va plafonner les dépenses, éliminer le gaspillage pour équilibrer le budget afin de réduire l'inflation et les taux d'intérêt. Et que je vais inciter des municipalités d'enlever la bureaucratie pour bâtir des nouvelles maisons. Surtout des jeunes à Pierre Poilievre, parce qu'ils savent que je suis le seul chef qui est capable d'inciter la construction des maisons abordables. Et c'est pour ça que les Canadiens m'appuient.
Est-ce que le gouvernement Poilievre augmenterait les seuils d'immigration du fédéral ou est-ce qu'il les maintiendrait tels qu'ils sont en ce moment?
Justin Trudeau veut que les Canadiens blâment les immigrants pour les problèmes que Trudeau a causés. Il veut diviser le pays entre immigrants et les gens qui sont ici depuis longtemps. Les immigrants ne sont pas les personnes à blâmer. Justin Trudeau est à blâmer. Et c'est comme ça que Justin Trudeau maintient le pouvoir. Et en divisant les gens, c'est un démagogue. Il veut diviser les Canadiens pour distraire du fait que c'est Justin Trudeau et seul Justin Trudeau qui est responsable pour doubler le coût du logement.
In English? Could I get that same question in English? Do you support rolling back immigration levels to ease the strain on housing?
Look, I think Justin Trudeau would love Canadians to blame immigrants for the housing prices that he has doubled. But immigrants are just following the rules that he put in place. So how can we blame them and not him? He's the one that presided over the doubling of housing costs. He's the one that doubled the rent, doubled mortgage payments. He's the one that gave us the worst inflation crisis in 40 years. He's the one who sent interest rates on our mortgages rising faster than at any time in monetary history. And now he wants Canadians to forget all that and blame immigrants. He wants to divide people, to distract from his failings. He thinks if you're afraid of your neighbor, you might forget that you can't pay your rent. This is what demagogues do. Justin Trudeau's been dividing people his entire life. And I expect that he will get even nastier and more divisive now as people realize the misery that he has brought down on them.
The Prime Minister said today,
do you think the government should take a more active
on the
role
foreign
in
interference
housing?
inquiry, he said that the opposition parties are still working together, that something's happening. What's the holdup on calling this inquiry in your mind? Because he says you haven't come to a consensus yet.
We gave him names, we gave him a mandate, and we've been waiting ever since. The holdup is Justin Trudeau. Only Justin Trudeau has the authority to call a public inquiry. As leader of the opposition, I have no authority under the Inquiries Act. I've made my suggestions and I'm now waiting for him. You almost wonder if Trudeau doesn't want the truth to come out about Beijing's interference in our democracy before the next election so that he can allow that interference to happen all over again. He benefited from it twice, and he knew it because we know that he had the briefings on it, and he did absolutely nothing. And now he's blocking inquiry. He didn't introduce a foreign influence registry to identify those paid agents who work for foreign dictators to manipulate our politics. It seems to me Trudeau is fine to allow the foreign influence to continue as long as it benefits him. A Poilievre-led government will call a full inquiry, expose the foreign influence, and we will have a foreign influence registry. Finally, we will make sure that we shut down every foreign-controlled police station in this country, because the proud and patriotic Canadians of Chinese origin came here to get away from that oppression. They should not be harassed by a foreign communist dictatorship in this country here in Canada. Justin Trudeau said he admires the basic dictatorship, the basic communist dictatorship in China. I believe him.
Some have suggested the government should take a more active and direct role in housing, meaning turning office buildings into affordable rent below market, or taking vacant land, turning that into housing, or buying land to create housing that then people can have at below market rent. Do you think this would be the correct approach? Would this help in any way get more affordable units built and to people faster?
Well, there are definitely some ideas in there that could help. I want to be careful, though, that we don't build more bureaucracy when we need to build more homes. Trudeau's increased federal housing budget to $89 billion a year. He's spending vastly more on so-called housing programs than any government ever, all to achieve a doubling in the actual cost. Admittedly, when I was housing minister, the taxpayer paid less for housing programs, but housing was affordable. The average mortgage payment was half, the average rent was half, the average down payment was half of what it is now. So what I propose is let's remove the problem, which is that bureaucracies block home building. I was in the Byward Market the other day. A builder came up to me. He said he was supposed to have his permit for 1,700 homes in Ottawa in May. They said, oh, wait to June. Oh, wait to July. Well, now it's August, and he called in that morning, and the planner's on vacation for 2 more months. Well, isn't that nice? Well, 1,700 families are waiting for their home to be built. The planner's on vacation. There's no one else who can pick up the phone at City Hall and get the house built, get the permit stamped. I mean, why is it that you can get a permit faster in every other OECD country except one than you can in Canada? Because we've allowed these bureaucracies to grow up, and the Trudeau policy has been to fund the bureaucracies and make them even bigger. We don't need more gatekeepers. I'm going to pay for results. The money I give to cities for infrastructure will be based on housing completions, keys indoors, families in living rooms. There will be a formula that will be per housing completion and occupied that will incentivize cities to massively accelerate building permits, free up land, so we can build, build, build.
Last question.
Yes.
Catherine McKenna, the former Liberal minister, accused Conservatives of being arsonists over the opposition to the carbon tax. So what's your response to her comment, and what do you say to climate alarmists or maybe people that say that not having a carbon tax will lead to a climate catastrophe?
What I really worry about is the increased radicalization of rhetoric by Liberals, particularly Justin Trudeau, but the nastiness and meanness that they're directing at people who disagree with their policies, whether it's Trudeau's nasty comments directed at Muslim parents, or whether it is him jabbing his finger in people's faces, and now a former Liberal minister saying that anybody who doesn't want to pay higher taxes is an arsonist. Really? Really? As if we paid higher taxes, we'd have less forest fires? Come on. Let's get back to some common sense in this country. And let's start to bring our people together instead of tearing the country apart. Thank you.